Welcome to Wrestling Talk. I'm Ed Whittier along with Lennon Caplan, special guest Killer Kowalski.
Thank you, Ed.
You're welcome.
I had to do something for my boss just now, and I didn't see that we were on. Walter, welcome back to the show.
Thank you very much, man.
This is show 156 on Wrestling Talk. Walter Killer Kowalski was our very first guest on Wrestling Talk, June 1987, Walter. Can you believe that?
Wow, time flies.
Yeah.
Which you called it Wrestling Profiles.
Wrestling Profiles, for lack of a better name. Those were my words. And I didn't know, we didn't know we were going to have a show. We didn't know it would last this long or be successful with the people. And we didn't know we would do it eventually here at the Lynn studio either. But all that stuff happened, and Paul Fay was a big part of that, of course. And he's no longer with us now. But
fifth anniversary coming up, right?
Yeah, I guess so. Is it fifth?
Coming up in June.
Fifth or fourth anniversary, I think. Something like that. Anyway.
Well, the first year's 1, second year's 2, 3,
right.
4, 5.
Well, however you want to count it.
Yeah, okay.
We have a clip here from that very first show, just in case people haven't been with the show as long as we have. So let's go to that right now. Just a little bit. Let's get down to basics. How did you get started in professional wrestling? I know there were no schools around at that time.
Oh, yes, there were. I went to wrestling school, and let's see, as you're counting my age, that was 1914, I think it was, when I went to wrestling school.
Okay, you proved me wrong.
No, I went to wrestling school just outside Detroit, Michigan, some 25 years ago, 26, 27 years ago, 30 years ago, quite a few years ago.
And that was 1987 in June. What did you think of that? Did you ever see that, Ed?
I never saw that.
No?
No.
Walter, what did you think?
Hey, I'm back, aren't I?
Well, that's right. That's right. We're taking your live phone calls if you want to talk to Walter Killer Kowalski at 581-9061. No trivia question tonight because we want to catch up on what's been happening with Mr. Kowalski. Now, Walter, you still have your school, correct?
Yes, I still train would-be champions, would-be.
Want to
I get
be.
phone calls every once in a while from a guy. How big are you? Well, I'm not too big. Well, what is your size? How old are you? I'm 18. I'm 5'6". What do you weigh? I weigh 135 pounds. You're too small. Well, I can work on train. How big is your father? My father's 5'6". He weighs 140. Live the dream. Just live the dream, fantasize it. You won't make it. Well, poor guy got so discouraged. You know, I'd like to do that. Tell him that, well, if you don't have the size, people like to, especially today, people like to see idols of theirs. So a guy who's 9 feet tall or something like that, he weighs 900 pounds, they try to identify with him.
Let's take this phone call. Wrestling Talk Live, you're on the air. Whoops, lost him. Okay, back to the size issue. Now, does that mean somebody, say of your size, if you were coming up now, would you, I mean, you're a pretty big guy, would you make it now, do you think? The same way that you made it then?
Yeah, well, I made a commitment. Now, that's the other thing. I see guys, they do this, that, and the other thing when they become professional wrestlers or something like that, and they're just doing it part-time, not really putting all their heart into it. Myself, I made a total commitment. I used to study and read about endurance, how to build up my endurance. That made me become a vegetarian, knowing and realizing myself that being a vegetarian increases your endurance.
Right.
I used to run these guys into the ground. I actually would. I get them in the ring and they go such a sort of speed, my opponent jump out on the floor and walk around. He's pooped.
You know, when Bruno Sammartino was on the show, he commented that wrestling you was like wrestling a machine.
There you are, from one of the best. In fact, people often ask me, who's the toughest opponent you've ever had? And it's Bruno Sammartino.
And that's just what he said about you.
There you are.
Wrestling Talk Live with Killer Kowalski. You're on the air.
Hello, Lenny.
Hi.
Hi. I want to ask, I got 2 questions, but first I want to ask Mr. Kowalski, did he used to wrestle at the Revere Beach, in Revere? It's in the back of the roller coaster one time?
May have. I wrestled so many places. Wherever they take me, he says, there's the ring, get in it. I'd walk over and get in the ring.
And you had the claw, didn't you? Wasn't it the claw?
Yes, I did have a claw hold.
On our very first show, Walter explained how he developed the claw. I think we'll repeat that sometime.
Oh, good.
The whole show.
And now, Lenny, I'm going to ask you something.
Okay.
you had Outback Jack on
Yes, we did.
a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Now, you owe me a movie and a whole certificate. I never received it.
Oh, well, we're sorry about that. Your name is in our Wrestling Talk Trivia Answer book.
Okay.
So what's your first name?
Peter.
Peter? Okay, I'll look that up.
All right.
Okay?
Yeah.
Take care.
Okay, bye-bye.
581-9061. Walter Killer Kowalski is our guest. Show number 156. I like saying that. Not show number 1 anymore. But, so now, getting back to the issue of size again, you said you made the total commitment.
Yes.
But would this total commitment be enough today?
Yes, it would be.
Okay.
If the guy has a size and makes a total commitment to it, try to really go after it, he can make it. Because that's what the whole thing is about. People try to do things the half manner. I was going to say another word.
I know.
But,
I think everybody knows.
Yeah. But and to them it's like a game. Well, if I make it, it's all right. If I don't, it's all right too. That's not it. That's not the way to go about it. You take Ollie's a great basketball player, Larry Bird. You think he was just picking his nose while he was playing basketball in the back alley? Baloney, boy. He started when he was a kid. And the best wrestlers today are the ones whose fathers were wrestlers.
Right.
Because the fathers have trained them and started training them by the time they're 9 years old. By the time they get about the 16 or 17,
Sure.
they're very, very, very good.
We have to take a break now. We'll be back with more of Walter Killer Kowalski and your phone calls right after this.
There are 400,000 military women on active duty in all branches of the service. Her duties have changed over the years as she works in partnership with men in defense of our nation. 2 million women have served in the armed forces since the Revolutionary War, and the military woman's story will finally be told when this memorial is built at the gate of Arlington National Cemetery. It will honor all military women, all grades of service, all periods of time from the Revolutionary War to Vietnam and recently Panama. When a woman leaves the service, sometimes she marries or relocates. Names and addresses change. And since there is no current list of the new names and addresses, the Memorial Foundation is counting on you to help locate these women so they can be registered. If you know any woman who has served in the military or is serving now, please ask her to call this toll-free number.
As Americans, there are many things we take for granted. Safe water we drink, the education of our children, emergency medical services, police protection, and so much more. May 6th through 12th is Public Service Recognition Week, the time of the year we say thanks to America's 20 million public employees. Public employees, those unsung heroes, they make America work. A public service message from the Public Employees Roundtable.
Welcome back, and our guest is Walter Killer Kowalski. We're taking your live phone calls here at 581-9061. My co-host is Ed Whittier. And Ed, this is quite a book you brought,
Yes.
and it has a picture of Walter in it. And they called him Stanley Kowalski. I don't know if the camera can pick that up. Now, Walter, you had a story about that.
Well, to tell you the truth, the girl who wrote the book, she knew I had a lot of pictures about wrestling and wrestlers too, because I was a bit of an amateur photographer. In fact, I had a lot of my pictures on display.
No kidding.
At conventions, yes. So she asked me to give her those pictures. I wouldn't do it. So to get back at me, she put my picture in there only one time and tried to demean me, and called instead of Killer Walter, Killer Kowalski, went down Stanley Kowalski. It's a picture of me, though.
But now, this is a fairly, what is that from the 70s,
Yeah,
Ed,
this
that
is
book?
I think it's 1978
I
is the
mean,
year in this book.
by then, I mean, everybody knew who Walter Killer Kowalski was.
Of course they did.
How could she hope to hurt you that way?
I couldn't care less. I never bought the book. I never thought about someone else brought it to me and showed it to me. I said, big deal. Yeah. I wasn't impressed at all.
What is your most unusual tour as a wrestler? Like, what was the weirdest place you ever went to, or the most exotic place?
Well, I've been to some weird places, that's for sure. Well, one time, the wrestling promoter told me we're going to Indonesia. I said, where's that at? Look on the map. All right, whatever. So we ended up in Indonesia, and at that time, They just threw communism out of there. So now they're all Americanized, more or less. But boy, the conditions there were just horrible, absolutely horrible. My goodness, and at the same time I had a diarrhea, so I wasn't in good shape either.
God.
So my weight was down too, and I was sick, sicker than a dog. And I remember coming from the airport and driving along Canal. And I looked out and I says, what's going on up there? She said, those people lived there. There was a cardboard box this big and a wooden box over there, and that's their homes. These here people get in there, crawl in, and that was their home. That's how poverty was. I've never seen poverty that bad like I've seen up there in Jakarta, Indonesia. And I said, so she said, but look how fit you are, look how fit you are. Here's one guy washing his clothes and the thing, the other guy drinking the water beside it, out of the canal. Look how fit you are. I said, yeah, they sure are fit. Where are the old people? That shut them right up. They're all young people up there. Just the people just couldn't make it. And when we wrestled in there, the house was lousy at night. I mean, by God, it was just, nobody had any money to even go to a wrestling show. But they were showing TV out of Australia, shipping it up there, and so that was a big deal. And that was it. One of the better places I went to wrestled in Hong Kong. They were sending the TV out of Australia there. And Singapore, I enjoyed that. Bangkok, right like that. So I have traveled a bit. In fact, my whole time, you put it all together, I spent 3.5 years in Australia. I lived there.
Right.
And when living there, I'd go with the rest of what they call Southeast Asia, which included Indonesia, Philippines, and all that whole part of the world. And that was one part I enjoyed. I enjoyed that. Singapore was terrific. Boy, the people were just wonderful to you. Every Oriental country that I wrestled in was different, and the people respected you. And then I realized where that phrase, ugly American, came from. Because I walked in a hotel, was right in Japan, and there was an American couple there screaming and hollering at the people at the desk. Screaming and hollering at them, but our conditions were so deplorable to them they were. It was not like the United States. I'd walked out of the hotel, I didn't want to be them to think that I was also an American. So they often tell me, you Americans? No, I'm a Canadian. Just trying to hide it, because I was so embarrassed. Because the way the people, they expect them to bow down before them because they're American. No way. I treated the people there like I was the guest. And that's exactly the way I went. In fact, I'm walking on the sidewalk, a bunch of people come to me, I stepped off the sidewalk. Let them, it's their home, they have the right to walk on the sidewalk. And they overhear them, the Americans, by walking on the sidewalk, and expect everybody to jump out of the way for them. Well, I've seen conditions as I traveled like that, and well, I travel as a Canadian.
Right.
When I can look back at all my travels and the places I've been, I really enjoyed myself. In fact, one time I remember, my hobby was photography. I had a camera and everything. I was in Japan, and coming toward me was a woman dressed in a gown, but apparently she was going to some kind of event. And a little boy was with her. He had makeup on him, and he had his hair all combed black with it all tied in the back. And he had a gown on too, identically to the mother, like a pair. So I thought, wow, what a nice picture. So I stopped him. Chotamote, I said, in Japanese means just a minute. And so I pointed at the camera and pointed at him. She said, hi. So she posed for me, let me take a picture until I was through. And she didn't try to do that in America. Hey, can I take a picture? Oh, boy, the things that would do to you here. And that's what I mean. The people in another country are so polite. They ask them for do something for you, and they will do it. Another thing I found out in other countries was honesty. Now, I don't know if they're still like that, because once the Americans get through there, I'm not demeaning or running down American people. Once they get through there, the people change. Their attitude is changed. I remember one time one of the wrestlers dropped his wallet out in a hotel room.
Yeah.
It was 2 weeks before they come back. The wallet was still, they had him for him at the desk.
No kidding.
Nothing missing, no money missing, nothing missing here.
That's rare.
Yeah. Well, of course, when we were on the train, when they realized, when they got to the next town, they phoned back the hotel. Just a minute, we'll check. Yes, the bellhop turned it in. We'll have it here for when you get here. 2 weeks later, we come back to Tokyo.
We have another break to go to, and then we're not going to be impolite to our caller anymore. We're going to answer the phone. So we'll be right back right after this.
Why didn't you just interrupt me?
Well, I don't want to interrupt you all.
I was going to take a job with an engineering firm in New York. I got a better offer. I'm building schools overseas with the Peace Corps. The pace is a little slower than New York, but here I'm getting grassroots experience I couldn't get anywhere else. The way I look at it, the world can wait 2 years for another 40-story smoked glass high-rise.
Peace Corps, the toughest job you'll ever love.
Everyone makes mistakes, Matthew. Don't pay any attention to the other children.
For this bright 6-year-old, the ABCs have never been as simple as ABC. Where do you go when you're different from the other kids? He got help at a Center for Learning Disabilities. They got help from the United Way. All because the United Way got help from you. The United Way. It brings out the best in all of us.
The man, and dog.
For years, this man thought if he just tried hard enough, he could teach himself to read. Where do you go when you can't do it alone? He's getting help in a literacy program for adults. They got help from the United Way. All because the United Way got help from you. The United Way. It brings out the best in all of us.
Mom, I'm tired. Can we go home now?
2 months ago, the only job this woman could take was one where she could take her son with her. What do you do when there's no one to watch him but you? She's getting help at a daycare center. They got help from the United Way. All because the United Way got help from you. The United Way. It brings out the best in all of us.
Welcome back to Wrestling Talk. Let's go to the phones right now. Wrestling Talk Live, you're on the air.
Yes, hi, Len.
Hi.
How are you?
Fine, and you?
Good. Congratulations on your show.
Well, thank you.
I hear it's 4 years now.
Thank you, yeah. It's not quite the anniversary, but because we have Walter here, who was on our first show, we had to say something about it.
Oh, he's great. He's my idol.
Yeah.
I have a couple of points. Mr. Kowalski, I just wanted to know, you had a feud going with Golden Boy George. We're talking way back now. Golden Boy George.
It sounds like
Pepper
the Culture
Gomez.
Club there.
Maybe Pepper Gomez had a feud.
Oh, I was just wondering if you'd known him. I thought it was Golden Boy George. If he's still around or if you see him.
No, Pepper Gomez had a feud. Pat O'Connor had a feud with everybody. Pat O'Connor, except George Bush, never had a feud with him. I wouldn't be here if I did.
I don't know if you recall it then. I don't know. I might be mixing it up here.
Golden Boy Buddy Rogers, maybe.
Could be. Buddy Rogers. Is he still around?
Yes, he's still around. He's still alive, too.
Oh.
Since 74, 75 years old.
Really?
And he lives down in Florida.
Yeah.
Works out. He looks in tremendous shape.
I bet he doesn't
He's
look
getting in the ring again.
I bet he doesn't look as good as you, though.
I think he looks pretty good. I saw him. He still works out.
Lenny,
Yeah.
one more thing. What about the Saturday card at the Garden? What happened there with the Desert Storm? Did
Well,
you get any?
that was a great match. A very unusual Hulk Hogan match. Hulk Hogan actually gave, and I was waiting for it to happen, he gave Sergeant Slaughter the camel clutch and the cobra clutch.
Really?
And he didn't do the leg drop or anything that he's usually associated with. Yeah. It was very interesting. He came in with a mask, and he threw salt at Slaughter, and because it was a come-as-you-are match, I guess.
Yeah.
Very nicely done by Hogan.
Boy still got it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, well,
That's a
you know, they're pretty nasty to the crowd, too. They were spitting at people and going out in the audience. And
I predict after SummerSlam they're going to lose it, and they'll never be seen again.
Well,
It's one of those teams, Glenn.
time will tell, you know.
Yeah.
Anything else for Walter?
No, that's all. Nice seeing you, Walter. You
Thank
look
you.
great.
Thank you for the call.
Keep it up.
Thank you very much. 581-9061. Plenty of time for more phone calls with Walter Killer Kowalski, who is our 156th guest as well as our first.
That's right.
I'm
Walter,
obsessed with that number.
I know you are.
Sorry. Go ahead, Ed.
Did you hear about Lou Thesz wrestling in Japan recently?
Yes,
What'd you think about
it was
that?
mentioned to me. Next thing I know, in the mail comes a tape of the Lou Thesz wrestling. First, the guy there, and he didn't do too well. Lou Thesz got beat.
Really?
But I have to give a lot of credit to Lou Thesz because he was my mentor, actually. Because when I was first starting out wrestling, they shipped me to St. Louis. He used to take me to the gym. He'd look, and he's always been a veteran then. They started teaching me and training me and show me this, watch out for this, watch out for the guy does this, do this. And the things he taught me actually were such good steed for me when I grew older, with more experience.
Now, do you pass these on to your students today?
Yes, I do. An incident happened, I don't know if we have the time to mention it, happened with me and Inoki in Japan.
Antonio Inoki.
Antonio Inoki, happened with him there. He had me, this is in his hometown, Osaka.
When was this, Walter?
1965 or so. 63, 64,
okay.
65.
And he's still wrestling today.
Oh. Yes. And he picked me up, and tipped me back, but he tipped me extra far back. I landed it back. I ducked down, threw my arms back, landed it back of my head. Knocked me cold. But I'd never been knocked cold for any length of time. I come right out of it again. And when I threw my arms back to try to cushion a fall, my arms were already there, so he hooked my arms. I tied my arms, hooked my arm, referee got down the pin. So it was one. And I, with my feet alone, I wiggled my feet, hooked his leg, got him off of me.
Oh, geez.
Well, one of the guys who was training him was Carl Gotch, when he was in Japan, training all these guys. And later on I asked, who's the toughest guy in Japan? He says, Inoki. I said, how tough is he? He says, he could beat most of the guys in the United States in the gym if you really go after it. So really, how long would it take him to beat me? He says, you he can't beat. Well, here's what happened then. But then naturally I was a little angered by the fact that he almost knocked me out, or he did knock me out. I looked him in the eye and he got up. And there's one thing about Inoki, no guts. No guts, because that match that you had with Muhammad Ali, the fight, you wouldn't even mix it, you wouldn't get into mixing with him. It's on his back because he had no guts. And that's when I found out, because when I got up, I looked at him and he backed up. So I grabbed him and threw him in the rope and I threw one drop kick at him right in the face. Knocked him cold. Down he went.
Oh, God.
That was it. I walked out of the ring, left him there.
Wrestling Talk Live with Walter Kowalski. You're on the air. Hello?
Hello?
Hi. You're on the air.
Hi, my name is Chris.
Hi, Chris. You have a question for Walter?
Yeah, did he ever get a chance to tag with Chief Jay Strongbow?
He was my opponent. I wrestled him, not tagged against him. Now get this now.
I remember those matches.
There's a group of two guys called the Executioners.
Yes.
World Tag Team, WWF World Tag Team Champions for one solid year. Now, we wrestled, as the Executioner, I was Executioner number 1. Executioner number 2 was Big John Studd. And we wrestled the two Indians, Chief Jay Strongbow and Chief White Wolf. And we used to grind their noses and that. We used to do every which one thing. And that I wrestled against the Indian, but not with him, because we were opponents.
Now, didn't you put Billy White Wolf out of wrestling? Somebody put him out. I thought it was you guys.
Well, we may have. We might have discouraged him a little bit.
Yeah.
I also have a question for you, Len.
Okay.
Were you at the garden matches?
Yes, I was. Ed and I were both there.
How'd you think of Bret Hart? How'd he do against Barbarian? I thought he did pretty well.
Oh.
I thought he could have done better.
Yeah.
He did all right, but he can do a lot.
I mean, a lot of the acrobatic stuff is sort of limited with an opponent like the Barbarian.
Well, Barbarian's much
He moves
stronger.
pretty fast himself, but, you know, it's more enjoyable, I think, for a fan to watch a match, say, between Bret Hart and Ted DiBiase or something. You know? I agree. What do you think, Carla?
Yeah, I guess, because Barbarian did have size advantage then.
Oh, you were there too, huh?
Yes, I was.
Yeah. Great. Did you see us?
No, that's why I asked.
Yeah, we were there. We were there.
All right, thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
We have to go to another break now in a few minutes, and let's take some more phone calls at 581-9061. Pete's in back of the camera raising his hand, yawning. So that's why I thought that was a break sign. Stretching his hand.
Now, Walter, one time you wrestled a guy named Yukon Eric. Tell me a little about him.
Yukon Eric was he was pretty good, very, very powerful, very, very strong guy. At the time when I wrestled him, I was going under the name of Vladik Kowalski, which is Polish for Walter. Vladik Kowalski, make it sound more ethnic, you know, like I was a real foreigner or something. There was a match in Montreal, Canada. I have a picture of it at home. I tied his leg in a rope. I climbed the top rope. At that time, I was using a knee drop across the throat. And I climbed the top rope, and the referee screamed at me, "You're not supposed to tie his leg in a rope." So the referee was underneath me, tying his leg, and I leaped off the top rope. Yukon Eric saw me coming, and he tried to get away from me, tried to move away from me, but he couldn't move too far. He was trapped. And I saw him, I said, well, gee, I'm going to jump on his head, and maybe it'll break my shin bone. So I twisted in midair. Everything happened within a split second. I stood in midair, and I come down, and I said, doggone, I missed him, I thought. What happened was, I grazed his cheek, just grazed it. Well, I didn't feel nothing grazing his cheek. He had a very bad cauliflower ear. In fact, it stuck out and was gnarled and hard. You ever feel a cauliflower before? Feel
no.
that. It says, feel how hard that is?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, when you get hit in the ear, the blood congeals, unless you get drained, and it becomes hard. And one of the things holding your head...
I hate to interrupt you, but we have to go to a break.
It's going to get interesting, though.
I know.
Well, we'll keep him on...
Blame Pete.
We'll be right back.
Hey, how you doing?
Look what I do in school today, Grandpa.
The heart, the aorta, the left and right ventricles, and the auricles.
Grandpa, did you want to be a doctor when you were little?
Well,
Dreams need never again be forgotten.
You would have been the best doctor, Grandpa.
Please support the United Negro College Fund.
Can I be a doctor, Grandpa?
I don't know if you'll remember me, but I'll never forget you. I'm Mr. Signorelli's daughter. I didn't think about what would happen if he went into cardiac arrest. I didn't realize that at 6 a.m., a nurse would call the shots and save his life.
If you have the smarts and the guts to study biology, chemistry, anatomy, and psychology, call 1-800-962-NURSE. If caring were enough, anyone could be a nurse.
Dummy. You're pathetic. You little brat.
Child abuse is also known by some other words.
Jerk. You moron. You're so clumsy.
Words like these can hit as hard as a fist.
You were never born. I hate you.
What you say to your children can determine how they feel about
You
themselves
slob. You're worthless.
and how they feel about you. Get the picture. Stop using words that hurt. Start using words that help. For helpful information, contact us.
Randy Travis on strings. Branford Marsalis on the horn. Paul Schaefer on keys. Carly Simon on lead. There are a lot of different parts to play in the American Red Cross. Play your part.
Welcome back to Wrestling Talk. We're going to have to wrap it up for this half an hour of Wrestling Talk Live. Now, this is complicated.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to do another taped half an hour with Walter Kowalski, but none of you are going to see that right now if you're watching on May 20th.
And we're going to continue on the Yukon Eric.
We will. We will finish Walter's story, and we hate to tease you fans like that, but we have no choice. Time constraints. But we are going to have another half an hour taped. So watch that in the upcoming weeks on Wrestling Talk. So, Walter, thank you for being on this live portion.
Right on.
And
pleasure.
Ed,
here we go.
You ready to go?
Yes, I have one more thing to say.
Okay.
To my little cousin who's been after me to say hello to him, Donny DiNicola. Hello.
Okay, Donny DiNicola.
Hello, Donny.
Stay in the ring.